The first team we're going to talk about, of course, is the NBA champions, the ones that Riv doubted all year. He doesn't like LeBron James. But the Lakers, they finished 52-19. They beat Miami 4-2 and pretty much dominated throughout the playoffs. And I think everyone is wondering right now, are they going to two-peat? I mean, they added Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder. You added Wesley Matthews, Marc Gasol. And the guys they lost weren't big losses. Danny Green struggled throughout the playoffs. Avery Bradley wasn't even there in the playoffs. Then you lose JaVale McGee, who was a liability in the Rockets series. Dwight Howard, who was a liability as well. Rajon Rondo, who played well. But all in all, the Lakers got better this year. And I think their role players are going to make a huge difference for them this season.
Yeah, and you mentioned a couple of those names, and what those guys brought to the table, really, especially Avery Bradley, Rondo, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, they really helped that defense, which was one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense. And now you see the additions they brought in this year: Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Wes Matthews, Marc Gasol. Although their defense is going to take a slight hit, offensively, they are going to be unstoppable. I honestly don't see how you game plan for this type of offense with LeBron and Anthony Davis. And you're talking about a team that just won a championship. Rob Pelinka went out and had the best offseason in the entire league. So although I think they might struggle in the regular season, because I think LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to take a bunch of load management games off, they might not be the 1 seed, but they do not mistake it. They will be the team to be chased come, when are they finishing now? July this season. Whenever that Larry O'Brien trophy is being hoisted, the team that wins it will either be the Lakers or have to go through the Lakers, and there's no question about that.
All right. So the Lakers, it's hard to come back after a year and replicate a team or keep the team together, because guys get better, they want bigger contracts. But this team has retooled. Getting a guy who I think should have won Sixth Man of the Year in Dennis Schroeder was a great, great addition. And they didn't really give up much for him. Not to mention getting Montrezl Harrell, who I know his stock was down during the playoffs, but he's still, during the regular season, also a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. Keeping Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was big for them and hit some big shots for them. And then you got Alex Caruso, who hit some big shots for them and also was one of their best defenders, I think was a good thing. I know losing some guys like Danny Green and a lot of the defense is going to hurt Rajon Rondo, but with LeBron and AD at the helm, these guys should definitely be the favorites coming out the West. They should be one of the favorites in the whole NBA to repeat as champions. And I think with LeBron and AD, they're going to load manage a little bit just because of LeBron's age. I think AD, he does get hurt, so you do see a lot of injuries banged up. But this year should definitely be a year where AD should be thinking about being in the MVP race, being in the Defense Player of the Year race. Again, this should be a time where he starts to solidify that career, I want to say, so he can look like one of the best bigs, because he has the talent. So start solidifying that career. But for LeBron, it's incredible that he won his 4th championship. And I don't be hating. I just like to see – I want to see other teams win. But shout out to the Lakers. They definitely have a chance to repeat. And they're doing an incredible – Rob Pelinka is doing an incredible job of building this team.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm picking the Lakers actually to make it to the finals this upcoming season. I think that nobody in the West, outside of maybe the Clippers and maybe you want to count in the Nuggets or Portland, one of those teams has a chance, or maybe Dallas has a chance against the Lakers. But I think their team is just too good. And the storyline that I've been hearing this season is the MVP is either going to go to LeBron or Luka. It's going to be one of those. I don't think the Lakers will have such a great regular season. And another storyline is if Anthony Davis is going to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. For me personally, I feel like it's virtually impossible to win an award when LeBron James is your teammate. And that's what I think is going to hurt Anthony Davis, because a guy I think will probably have as much as an impact on the defensive end as Anthony Davis is Bam Adebayo in Miami. And he could possibly be a dark horse to win the award as well. But, I mean, you look at the starting lineup that they could trot out there. They have a bunch of different combinations. My dream lineup would be LeBron, Schroeder at the 2, KCP at the 3, AD at the 4, and Gasol at the 5. But, I mean, you can easily probably start LeBron at the 1, then start Wesley Matthews at the 2, KCP at 3, AD at the 5, and Harrell at the 4. Like, you can mix and match a lot. This lineup has a lot of versatility.
Yeah, I just like every time I look at this lineup, I just think more and more, how is anybody going to stop this team? You have LeBron, who is one of the best driving kickers in the league. Anthony Davis, who is one of the best ISO scorers. He can score a bunch of different ways. The shooters that they've put around these guys has improved from last year, amazingly enough. And already you're seeing guys like Kyle Kuzma is going to hopefully improve again, or, take a step that he didn't take last year necessarily. Talon Horton-Tucker, again, trying not to overreact to preseason games, but he's looked fantastic in the time he's been given. So that's just another piece for them. So I was talking about it with the Nets. The top 2 guys are probably not going to play 70 games, probably not even 60 games. But when they do sit, you're still running out a lineup with a solid 7 to 8 man rotation that should win you at least over 500% of the games that you're playing without your stars. And anytime you can do that, you put yourself in a great shape. So as long as they finish with a top 8 seed, they are going to the finals in the Western Conference. I feel confident saying that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I want to go back to Joel's point. It's gonna be hard, very hard. Because take it back to Golden State. It was hard to even put Steph and KD on an All-NBA first team because they were on the same team, and it's hard to really do that. And I think for LeBron and AD, it's going to be hard for AD to get the recognition he deserves throughout the season. Now, it was more noticeable in the playoffs, but I think it was hard. It's going to be hard because of the fact that he plays with LeBron and vice versa with LeBron. I don't think LeBron's going to win MVP, but he's going to be in that race. I definitely do think both of them are going to be in the running for it. I know we all have Luka as the favorite, but I definitely think those two are going to be in the running. And this team is pretty well-oiled machine. I think this is going to be a better offensive team than it was last year. I think it's going to drop slightly in defense, but offensively, I think this team is going to be rolling. And I think in the West, Joel is right. I think outside of the Clippers, who I still think is their best matchup, I don't think Denver – I think Denver can make it fun, but I don't think Denver can beat them. I think Portland, with the weapons they just got defensively, they can definitely make it a run. But I just only see the Clippers as the best matchup to take them out. And even then, in the East, I would only say maybe the Nets and Milwaukee as 2 teams. And I think it's going to be just tough to see how this team manages it out. But I do think Bam also is a dark horse for the MVP. I have them as a number 1 seed. The Lakers, I think they're going to be the number 1 seed. I have them as the favorite coming out the West. And I think they should definitely be thinking championship or bust. Anything less would be a failure, in my opinion.
Personally, I have them as the first seed as well. I'm projecting them to finish with the first seed. I can see them as low as 3, but that's the lowest. I can see them drop as low to 3, but that's the lowest that I have them at.
Personally, I have them at 2. I could see them maybe dropping to 4, but just talent-wise, I don't see them going any lower than that. I could easily see them being the first seed. It just depends on how many games off LeBron and AD take. But when you look at the personnel, like, that's the craziest thing for me, is they have somebody to neutralize anything and everything. And you watch the playoffs last season, and they got into a series with the Rockets where Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, who were big pieces the entire season, were hurting them. So what did they do? They put him on the bench, and they ran out Anthony Davis at the 5, which almost no other teams in the league have the luxury of doing something like that and still having such an interior defensive presence. It's just the versatility of their lineups. They can match up with anybody in the league, and that's the scariest part about them for me. But the only reason I put them at 2 is just because I think LeBron and Anthony Davis, coming off a 70-game offseason, are going to take some nights off, as they should.